You could.
Well, I'll take the 8 minutes. You're fine. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. And Minister, 51-week tenancy for students, postgraduates and medical students, it does not suit most students. And as more and more landlords now look for this agreement, we need to set the rules in place now to keep everything fair. Most students do their studies for the college term and then take work during the summer, which subsidises their education, because they have to work to help them with their education and help with, not having the burden on the parents as well. So there's kind of a balance needed there. And many of them return back to their hometown to actually work. That's what they do, leaving their flats or accommodation, whether it's a house, an apartment, a flat, being paid for, but not occupied. I am firmly in support of this bill. For student-specific accommodation leases, which works out with the academic year. As you know, Minister, and you said to me there, that's what we were talking about when you were entering. I have to mention, of course, my own hometown of County Carlow and Carlow Kilkenny. As we are now a university town and county, we are now SETU, which, while it's excellent, has brought a lot of challenges too. Because we need more buildings, we need more student accommodation, we need more housing. And I was going to ask yourself and Minister Darragh O'Brien, while I know part of government going forward in our different plans, our county plan as we call them, I do believe that we need to look at zoning, and I think that there needs to be zoning there for student accommodation and housing, particularly when you now have become a university town and county, and you now have so many extra students coming into your town, which is excellent. But look, we have to accommodate them. And the only way we can accommodate them is if we now start zoning land for student accommodation, but also for houses, that we make sure that any student that comes into a university town, that the accommodation is there. And that to me is going to be crucial in this going forward. I don't agree, as I said, with the 51-week lease for students, and I think preventing them will open up the market, which for me, if you look at the short-term rentals, which tourists and seasonal workers are demanding, that could be looked at. So there is other options there that needs to be looked at. I mean, having to pay rent while not in your accommodation was a particular issue for students, and we would have seen that during the pandemic when they had to leave or did not require student accommodation as the public health measures required. This measures would have stopped that kind of thing. So we need to make sure now that this legislation goes through. I actually believe this is absolutely excellent. And I know I've been speaking to parents. I know myself, look, I have 4 children myself, and my 4 kids were in college. And, unfortunately at the time, they had to leave Carlow because we weren't a university town. And I remember having three children in Dublin at one time studying. And the money I had to try and manage to pay for accommodation was just like I'm like many parents. I had my children close, so I know what it's like to put children through that. And of course I was lucky, my last chap went to Piltown in Kilkenny and he could commute, but I mean apart from that my other 3 couldn't. So I just think this is also, while it's affecting the students, it plays a huge part for parents as well, because I know myself parents are struggling when it comes to accommodation. I know, students are trying to work during the summer, and the parents are trying to do extra jobs to help, because it is costly now when you're going to college. But it is great that we are giving our young people an opportunity to study if they want that particular area. I know some want to do maybe apprenticeships, others, have their own way of whatever they choose in life. But to be able to give someone, I think, is life-changing if they want to do something. It's so important that we have it, that it's within their means, that they can afford it. And that's why I really believe that this is so important. And I just want to ask, I think, Minister, it is important that the timescale on this, can I just ask you about the timescale on this? Will this be ready for September? Because I think it is important. And I think, the one query I would have, while I totally agree with this, is that rents cannot be risen now for any student accommodation if, if landlords or whoever the person is that owns the particular building realises that there are going to be so many weeks down a year, that we need to make sure that across the board for everybody that there's the balance, that there's no extra rent costs going again for students. So there needs to be the balance, and it's everybody working together, because I really believe this is important. And as I said, we need to act on it really quickly. We need to make sure that I suppose, how do we work on getting it out there? Like, what way are we going to advertise it, communicate it, have proper information? And I think that's going to be important, because you are working with in the different areas, and I think, Minister, communication will be key here. And the one thing I will ask is, and this is the only thing I ask, that we build more accommodation, that we build more houses. And I think also, like now, if you look at County Carlow, say, you know, like, we have grown in the last census, Minister, you'll be aware of this now, we have one of the fastest growing in the country. We grew by 9%, which is really good, and it's important. But with that brings us challenges. So again, we need to make sure, working with local authorities, for example, people are looking for the HAP payment, people are looking to rent, that we have houses there for them as well. So we have to find the balance, we have to build more accommodation, more houses, and we have to make sure that anyone is in a position to rent a house, that they're able to do so. Thank you.